Ronnie James Dio is one of the most legendary heavy metal singers to ever walk the face of the earth. His voice had an insane range and originality to it, influencing the entire genre in profound and extreme ways. Few singers at the time had this vocal strength, and even to this day, he still remains one of the most iconic and original voices. But Dio did a lot more than just influence the singing style of 80s heavy metal. He also impacted the way the genre is perceived, the various fantasy and role-playing elements that persist to this day, and most importantly, he helped shape heavy metal into the genre we know today. Most people today, especially modern metal fans, don't realize just how much Dio impacted and influenced the genre. Even before his best known album, Holy Diver, he was already making a name for himself in bands such as Black Sabbath and Rainbow, creating some of the best and most iconic songs and albums they ever had. Heaven and Hell is a good example of his impact, as he not only helped create a killer album, but also prevented Black Sabbath from drifting into irrelevance or breaking up. Dio joined the band shortly after they fired Ozzy due to his extreme substance abuse and reckless and unreliable behavior, which was a very bold move, as he was one of the main reasons why people went to see the band. He might not have been the best singer, but he was a great showman, and his stage presence made shows a lot more fun. Firing him meant the band now had to find someone equally as good, if not better, or be the last in line for future success. They managed to get Ronnie James Dio, a man who saved the band from ruin and strongly influenced the Heaven and Hell album, which of course the band thanked him for by firing him due to their paranoia and drug abuse that they inherited from Ozzy. This created a rift between Sabbath and Dio, although there were already a lot of tensions with him and Ozzy ever since he joined the band, as Ozzy never got over being fired. Instead, he chose to insult and throw shade at Dio any chance he got. Before Dio joined Sabbath, he also used to play in Rainbow, and it's because of him that the early albums of that band had a lot of fantasy and occult elements. He later left because Rainbow wanted to go into a more mainstream direction and viewed fantasy as too childish and not serious enough. Ronnie James, being the legend that he is, decided to fuck all of them and start his own band named Dio, a band that would go on to impact music history in ways that Rainbow never could, even though I still consider Rainbow an amazing and important band.
Do you feel bad talking about the Rainbow time, or?
No, I don't feel bad. I have wonderful memories of that time.
Yeah.
It may seem as though I'm very bitter about Richie. I'm not bitter about Richie at all. He gave me my great opportunity. Without him, it would have taken me a little bit longer to be where I am today. I mean, I'm not going to give him all the credit because I'm good at what I do. But he gave me my chance, and I learned so much from him. I really learned so much from him. I learned good things, and I learned bad things. So I learned what not to do. I learned that when you come out of the show, you don't spit at your fans. You don't run into their car and go away from them. You don't not sign autographs for them. They wait there all the time for me. You don't be mean to your fans. That's the thing I learned, because that's what Richie did all the time. Really bad person. But he's a great musician, and I learned what works and what doesn't work with music.
But Dio, being so fascinated with fantasy elements such as the Lord of the Rings, dragons, knights and demons, ended up having a massive impact on 80s heavy metal and pop culture at the time. Even today, a lot of genres love to use such imagery, most notably power metal, which views Dio among one of its biggest inspirations, next to bands such as Iron Maiden, Queensryche and Judas Priest. I don't even think power metal would be as successful or fun if it wasn't for Dio's massive contributions. A lot of albums, movies, and pop culture elements in the 80s started using dragons and knights on their covers or feature them in movies such as Conan the Barbarian or Red Sonja. Seriously, look at the movie posters for the Conan franchise with Arnold and tell me that they don't look metal as fuck. Even music videos began to implement these fantasy elements, which almost always look cheesy and cheap, but that's what makes them so great in my opinion. One of my favorite examples is the Queen's Reich EP with the first music video called Queen of the Reich. It pretty much sums up that period and genre perfectly. Dio doubled down heavily on all of that when he released his most iconic album, Holy Diver. While I wouldn't say that this album created heavy metal, as that honor goes to bands like Deep Purple and Black Sabbath all the way back to the late 60s and 70s. It's fair to say that Holy Diver is one of the most important albums ever made in terms of style, instrumentals, and lyrics.
So anyway, the song Holy Diver is really about a Christ figure who on another place, not Earth, has done exactly the same as we've apparently experienced, or supposed to have experienced on Earth, dying for the sins of man so that man could start again and be cleansed and do it properly. So the same thing happened on this other far distant planet. And all the people on this planet are saying to him, they're calling him the Holy Diver. Holy Diver because he's about to go to another place, to another planet, another world, to do what he did on this place, save people from their sins, or absolve them from their sins by having himself killed. And the people are saying to him, "Don't go, no." Innuendos of tigers and stripes and hearts and being eaten and you'll die. And it was meant to be. It was meant to show just how selfish humanity is. That this one form of humanity on this one world said, no, don't go down there and save anybody else. Stay here. We need you. You're ours. That's what that was about.
There is a reason why so many rock bands in the 80s had a very operatic singing style, sort of like mixing opera singing with heavy guitars and power chords. Iron Maiden, for example, was a big influence on that style, as Bruce Dickinson's voice boomed through entire arenas and could hold high notes for a long time, while other singers crumbled or could barely even sing live. Holy Diver was extremely successful, and it was also the first Dio album to feature the iconic demon battling a priest. It might be one of the most, if not the most iconic metal album cover ever made. But what makes this even more legendary is that this cover and Dio's live concert appearances are the reason why the Devil's Horn rock and roll hand sign is associated with rock music. I mean, this sign is so iconic it transcended the genre and is now being used by almost everyone in various situations. I've even seen it constantly being used on rap and hip hop shows as well as by boy bands. It has cemented itself not only as a rock and roll symbol but also as a sign to show when you're trying to be more rebellious or simply when you're enjoying a concert and are living in the moment. But it was Ronnie James Dio who gave us this symbol, which ironically was never even meant to be the devil's horns or anything satanic. On the contrary, his Catholic grandmother used it as a sign against evil for protection, which of course Christian conservatives or censorship-loving groups such as the PMRC didn't care about and decided to instead spread lies and nonsense to make it seem as if he's doing something demonic. The symbol itself has existed for a long time and was also used by other cultures with various meanings, but in Western pop culture it became so popular due to Ronnie James Dio. One of my favorite songs and albums by Dio is The Last in Line. It perfectly showcases his insane vocal range and talent while also giving us one of the best music videos from the 80s. I mean, you've got a guy going down in what looks like hell in an escalator, video game addicted people being tortured by losing games for all eternity, and Dio breaking loose while singing like a madman. That song and video, just like Holy Diver, is Dio at his peak and something special. It defines 80s metal and all its glory perfectly, and also shows that heavy metal is one of the nerdiest genres out there. As much as we'd like to argue against it or deny it, heavy metal fans are massive nerds. I mean, we religiously wear band shirts or battle jackets, many of which we made ourselves, spending hours if not days on stitching band patches on our jeans jackets. It comes as no surprise then that fantasy has always been a big part of the genre, just like D&D. Even Iron Maiden has dedicated a few massive songs to Dungeons and Dragons because of how much the band liked the game, but also because of how many D&D players, at least at the time, were also heavy metal fans. If you want to see this Dio influence in recent pop culture even more, look no further than the latest season of Stranger Things, which can be considered a massive tribute to Ronnie James, D&D, and the metal genre in general.
First regarded as a harmless game of make-believe, now has both parents and psychologists concerned.
You want something, freak?
Because in Season 4 you have Eddie Munson, a metalhead who has a massive Dio patch on his battle jacket, is a huge nerd and D&D player and Metallica shredder. Even Ronnie James' wife, Wendy Dio, says that he would have loved that show and especially the character of Eddie Munson. As much as haters and critics were trying to paint him in a bad light due to his fascinations with things they either considered too childish or demonic, he was one of the kindest and good-hearted people within the genre and in the music industry in general.